Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare,
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare
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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram 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 Ram
Hare Krishna,
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare
Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Paditanam Pavaneti
Ram Ram
Vaishnavi
Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Welcome to the Shiva conference call.
Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Ram
May I know who all are on the call today?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Accept my humble obeisance, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you and Gauranga, all glories to all his devotees. This is Shashidhar joining from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shashidhar Prabhu, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your very valuable association. Thank you for chanting every day and making our mid-morning so wonderful. Hare Krishna, welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Bhagavata.
Hare Krishna Bhalavrinda, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your very, very valuable association on the call today. Welcome.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, thank you so much for your beautiful services. Welcome to the conference call, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashomati Mataji, welcome to the conference call. Thank you so much for your valuable services.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Neetu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining us and giving us your very valuable association on the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to the Srila Prabhupada. This is Revati Devi Dasi from Kentucky.
Hare Krishna Revati Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining us and giving us your very valuable association all the way from Kentucky. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirtida Sundari. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kirtida Sundari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining us and giving us your very valuable association on the call. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves today on the call?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Charu from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Charu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada, thank you so much, Charu Mataji, for joining us and giving us your very valuable association.
Hare Krishna Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Vipranarayan Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your very, very valuable association and welcome to the call. If this is your first time in the mid-morning, we welcome you to this wonderful session. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, Mataji, this is my first time.
Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Thank you all so much for joining us and giving us your very valuable association this mid-morning. Before we go ahead with today's session, I would like to read a quote from Srila Prabhupada. 21st November. Preaching is more important than managing. Just because you are preaching nicely and distributing so much prasadam, the management will follow like a shadow and Krishna will send you no end of help. Letter to Satsvarupa, November 21, 1971. Hare Krishna. We are very, very excited to have her grace, Kirtida Sundari Mataji, who is one of the best speakers on the Caitanya Bhagavata and Caitanya Charitamrita as well. So Mataji will again give us another spontaneous class if I'm not wrong. So she will be speaking from Adi Khanda. It's going to be chapter 14 and the verses are 14 through 7. So thank you, Mataji. You can now take over.
Hare Krishna Mataji, your voice is breaking.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Mataji will take over now.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for everyone joining. Thank you so much, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, for warmly welcoming everybody, for always engaging me in some service. So really grateful to you. Thank you so much. And thank you each and every one of you for joining us. Hope my voice is audible. And at any point, if it breaks or I get disconnected, you can always call me back. Thank you each and every one of you for sharing your valuable time with all of us. Time is such a resource which is, you cannot bring it back. Once gone, it's gone, right? And you all are sharing that valuable resource. So thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll start. Let's offer our prayers, invocation prayers, and then we'll continue with Caitanya Bhagavata. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Shri Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchatattvatakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivya Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadhatau sankirtanaicapitarau kamalayatakshav vishvambarau dvijavarau yugadharmapalau vande jagatpriyakarau karunavatarau jayati jayati deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtistasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityastasya Vishveshvamurter Jayati Jayati Nityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Mukham Karoti Vachalum Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripahatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Parmananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So once again, thank you all so much for joining. Again, as a beggar, I bow down to each and every one of you and request all your heartfelt prayers, your blessings to please shower it in abundance so that I can speak something relevant to this subject matter. From Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bhai Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrindi ki jai, Shla Prabhupada ki jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. So we are in the Adi Khanda, and this is chapter number 14. Chapter entitled is The Lord's Travel to East Bengal and the Disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. Yes, so we have already started the chapter. We have covered the first 13 verses, and today we'll start with the 14th verse. So what all we covered in that first 13 verses is Vrindavan Das Thakur is definitely started with glorifying the Vaishnavas, glorifying Mahaprabhu, glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. And he said that, please hear the pastimes of Mahaprabhu with rapt attention. And then he continued that how Mahaprabhu enjoyed his Vidya Vilasa Leela, that is his scholastic pastimes with all the students of Navadvip. And then, he became so famous in Navadvip, that in Navadvip, anybody, when they perform some good activity at their home, then with awe and reverence, not with some fear, not with some punishment, but with awe and reverence, they would come to the home of Nimai and will offer gifts. Why? Because Nimai Pandit has become Adhyapaka Shiromani. He has become the crest jewel among all the teachers of Navadvip. So everybody, out of awe and reverence, and of course, out of love, they would offer their foodstuffs, some clothes, to the house of Nimai. That became the norm in the entire Navadvip. And Lord also reciprocated. The Lord also, he didn't collected everything and he didn't stored everything. Rather, he also gave gifts to the poor. And he also gave gifts like he gave rice, he gave cloth, and sometimes money also. And though it's an ideal, it has been always been instructed by us, by our seniors, by our acharyas, that, when we give some charity, there is certain amount of karma that is afflicted to it. So it has always been advised that we should always try to give Krishna prasadam. But sometimes, if we feel that there is some genuinity in somebody else asking for some money, then it's not harm. It's not a harm to help somebody with the money. Ideal is, yes, you give Krishna prasadam, and of course you can chant Hare Krishna. In this way, you will be giving some agyat sukriti. The other person will be developing some agyat sukriti, which will help in down the line or maybe in the next life. But that is the ideal thing, to give Krishna prasadam. But if sometimes we are bereft of having Krishna prasadam, especially when we are traveling and we are in our cars, then, sometimes giving money is also okay. But we have to make sure that if we give some money in charity to some people, then they should not go and smoke or drink or eat some non-veg. Of course, some karma is affiliated to it. But here, Saraswati Thakur is giving, he said that sometimes the Lord would give money also. Anna, Vastra, and Kadi Pati. Kadi Pati means that the currency, some money out of compassion, he would give. So Anna and Vastra is okay, but sometimes he would give money also out of compassion. And then the Lord would also invite a lot of people at his home, and he would satisfy every one of them. He would invite a lot of guests at home, and then he would satisfy everybody. So that was the recap, what we covered in the first 13 verses. Now I'll share my screen and we will continue with text number 14. Okay, so text 14. Khona dena sannyasi aisha dasha bhisa sava nimantrena prabhu hayarisha. So some days in the previous we see that niravadhi atithi aishe prabhu ghare yara yena yogya prabhu dena sabakari. So niravadhi atithi aishe, some guest would daily visit the Lord's house. Some atithi would come, and what he will do? Yara yena yogya, as per their eligibility, their capability, and as per his own, he would always properly, Prabhu dena sabakare, he would always properly satisfy them. So this is also very, very important before we move on to today's verse, because this word atithi is being mentioned. As we all know, what is the meaning of atithi? Tithi means a day, a time, a particular time. That is tithi. Right? But atithi means someone who just come without informing, without giving a particular time. Prabhupada says that they are not informed guests, right? There are some guests who just inform us, like they will say that I'll come for a day or two, or I'll spend 2 nights at your home. They are informed guests. For certain, they come and they stay for the period they mention. So they are not as known as atithi, rather they are agatya. Agatya means someone who tells us, yes, this is the period of the time we'll be coming to your home. So we are welcomed at their home, of course, by their permission. We just tell them. And so we are welcome that way. But atithi is one who doesn't tell us. They just spontaneously, they'll come, they'll just show up at your home. So they are the atithis. So some guests, some atithis would also come to the Lord's home, and he would very properly satisfy each and every one of them. And that's all we all should. Even if atithi comes, we should always greet them. How and what are the instructions? We'll see today in the following verses. So Kona dena sannyasis, Aisha dasha bisha. Sometimes dasbis means 10, 20, he would call sannyasis. Sannyasis would come. And Sava nimantrena Prabhu hayarisha. And the Lord would happily invite them. All the sannyasis, the Lord would himself invite them at his home for lunch. So Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur, in his very brilliant purport, he writes that it is unavoidable. It is the unavoidable duty of every householder who follows the principles of Varnashrama to provide food and shelter according to their means to the 4th ashram, renowned sannyasi, who travel all over the world for the householders' benefit. So this is very, very important. That is, he says that this is the real principles of ashrama dharma. So even when we are in the Grahastha ashram, we all are in Grahastha, right? We all are in Grahastha. So what is actually the meaning of Grahastha? Grahastha doesn't mean that somebody who just stay in a house. In one of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that Grahastha means Graha, right? Graha, who grihi tishtiti iti Grahastha. Means those who live in a home, they are known as Grahastha. But that doesn't mean that anybody who stays in one home, like we all stay, sometimes single person also stays at home. So just staying in home is not Grahastha. Grahastha is something beyond. And then he says, Graham iti ayu, means simply a house, staying in a house. That is not Griha, that is not a Grahastha. Grihini griham uchyate, means there should be a Grihini. Simply a house is not a Grahastha. Rather, you should have a housewife. There must be a housewife. And when the wife is there, if there is no wife, then that ashram is not known as Grahastha. Right? So Chandakya Pandit even further extends, and he says, Putrahinam grihan shunyam. Like if you don't have children, then also just having wife doesn't satisfy the definition of grahastha. Even having wife will not satisfy. First, graha, actually it means griha tishtati iti grahastha, means one who live in a house. But only living in a house doesn't satisfy. One should have a grihini, one should have a wife, a housewife who stays. Now, only staying in a house with a wife, that is also not grahastha. Putrahinam grahan shunyam. If you don't have children, that griha is also void. That place is also void. That doesn't fall under the definition of grahastha. And we are here talking about grahastha ashram. So grahastha means something when we do it, when we have children, we have wife, a housewife is there, and that too we are aiming towards some spiritual life. That is known as grahastha, because grahastha doesn't come the word all by itself. It comes with ashram. So it's an ashram, right? Ashram doesn't mean an ordinary home or a place to stay. Ashram means that there is some spiritual cultivation in it. If there is no spiritual cultivation, that is not as known as ashram. Like we have a yoga ashram, that place where yoga is performed, but not some gymnastic, but for some spiritual cultivation. Similarly, this grahastha is not simply a grahastha, but it is known as an ashram. It is followed by certain rules and regulations. If those rules and regulations are not there, then it is a grahamedhi. The person is known as grahamedhi, who is simply doing 9-to-5 job, earning money, taking care of wife and children, but for sense gratification. There is not a tinge of spiritual cultivation related to it. That is known as grahamedhi. But here, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur is writing about ashram, that this is an ashram. Like we have a vanaprastha ashram, sannyas ashram. Why ashram? Because there are certain rules and regulations attached to any particular ashram. If it is not, then it's just a whimsical thought that comes. Like nowadays, people don't feel like marrying. They want to stay single. Now, what is the reason of staying single? They are staying single just because they want to stay single, because they are following some brahmachari ashram? No, they are not, because brahmachari ashram means that you have to stay single, but at the same time, you have to be in a place with your spiritual master to cultivate some spiritual realization, right? If that is not there, if that spiritual cultivation is not there, it is no more an ashram. So just staying single and staying in a house doesn't mean that you are in a particular ashram. You are not in that ashram, right? So ashram means that there should be some rules and regulations to it. And that too for spiritual cultivation. So when we are in the grahastha ashram, the first thing is we have to realize it, that yes, we have a family, we have a children, but are we aiming towards spiritual cultivation or not? If we are not, then we are simply grahamedis. A person who is in a grahastha ashram and a person who is in a grahamedi, externally their activities will be same. Both of them will be earning, both of them will be waiting for the paychecks, both of them will be living in a house, taking care of wife and children, paying mortgages and bills. But the consciousness is different. One is doing to cultivate spiritual cultivation, and another is doing only for sense gratification. So here also, when Prabhupada is writing that we are in an ashram. So when we are in an ashram, there are particular rules and principles attached to it. If we don't follow those rules and regulations, then we are not in an ashram, right? And grahastha ashram, what is the foremost duty? To serve the Vaishnavas. That is the foremost duty. It will come. Let's start. Seishane kahi pathye na janani re kuda sanyasira bhiksha jata karibare. So what Mahaprabhu will do? Seishane, immediately when all the sannyasis would come, Seishane, at that time only, he will send someone to inform his mother that, so-and-so sannyasis are coming. So quickly arrange the lunch for 10 or 20 sannyasis, whosoever they are. So he will immediately inform his mother that the lunch should be prepared. And then what happened? Ghare kichu nai e chinte mana mane khudi sanyasira bhiksha haibe ke mane chintati he na nahi jani ko na jane sakala sambhara ani deya se shane. So what happened when, Mahaprabhu was not from a very well-to-do family or very wealthy or rich family. He was in a very middle-class family. So there was sometimes nothing at home. And Mother Sachi would think, how will I prepare meals for these 20 sannyasis? Just, he just sent the message and, how will I do it now? And as soon as such thoughts come to her mind, someone would come and deliver the necessary ingredients without her notice. So this is a very, very important principle that we should also try to imbibe in our life. As Preeti Vilasini Mataji was reading the quote, and Prabhupada was saying that preaching is important, but someone say that, okay, preaching, but then how will I do it? Krishna will provide all the necessary things that you want. That's what Prabhupada's quote was. Krishna will provide you everything. So even if we have some services, we should not be bewildered by having those services in our life. Rather, we should think that Krishna has sent that service, so that definitely the empowerment will come along. Whether it is coming by our senior devotees, it is coming by our spiritual master, or even our loving friends and devotees. Whosoever, if we are assigned some service, we have to make sure in our own mind, rest assured that empowerment will come. So we should try our best. So the motive of our chanting, we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? And Prabhupada gave the beautiful meaning of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, though it comprises of 3 words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. All 3 means Srimati Radharani, along with Krishna, and Srimati Radharani, along with Radha Radhika Raman. Right? So we are chanting their names, but what is the intention of chanting? So when we are chanting, every beat we are praying that, O energy of Lord, O all attractive Krishna, please engage me into your service. We move on to the next beat. We say, O attractive Krishna, O Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Shri Krishna, O all attractive Lord Krishna, please engage me into more service, then in more service, then in more service. As our rounds go on and on and on, what are we asking for? Seva abhilasha karo. That is what is our desire. That we always want some seva. We always want to be engaged in some service. And then when service comes, we get bewildered. We feel that, oh, how will I do it? That kind of thought process goes in mind. That should not be the case. This shows how Mother Sachi is thinking, that how will I prepare meals? I don't have anything, no ingredients. And he told me to cook for 20 sannyasis. How will I cook? The moment she thinks, someone will come and give the necessary ingredients. So the moment we think that how will I do that service, some or the other way Krishna will empower us. We will be able to do that service. But the point is, have faith. We should have faith in the Lord. We should have faith in the Mahamantra. If we are chanting and asking for service, and if service comes, and if we get bewildered, it's our fault, right? So we should not get bewildered. Rather, we should be rest assured that yes, if service has come, maybe Krishna is pleased with my chanting. Maybe from those 16 rounds, I have chanted one mantra with some dedication, that Krishna is reciprocating and giving me his service and engaging me in his service. Just one mantra, is helping us and is giving us the opportunity to get engaged in Krishna's service. So when the service comes, we should also think that now this is the time that Krishna is empowering me. That empowerment is definitely coming along with that opportunity of doing service. And then that service is also for what? Will be either in the glorification of the Supreme Lord or in the purification of our own self. That's the only 2 things, right? We get purified and the lordships are glorified, or the Vaishnavas are glorified. And if some visitors or some atithi or some guests come, then also it is for our purification. Our house gets purified because the Vaishnavas have come. And our money gets purified because everything is engaged in the service. And definitely the Supreme Lord gets purified because Krishna says that I live in the heart of my devotees. Vaishnava Pran is my place. Krishna says that Govinda kahe mora Vaishnava Paran, that Govind says that I stay in the heart of the Vaishnavas. So when we are serving the Vaishnavas, ultimately we are purifying ourselves and we are glorifying the Supreme Lord. So we should, when we ask for service and services come, we should not take a step back. This is important learning, not only for all of you, but because I'm speaking also to my own self, that when the services come, we should never ever try to take a back step, rather have faith in Krishna, that if Krishna is giving me service, I should do it diligently, very, very nicely, with all my endeavor, with all my efforts, at the same time begging mercy from Vaishnavas and Lord Shri Krishna. Taba Lakshmi Divediya Devi Giya Parama Santoshe Randhera Vishesha Tabe Prabhu Ashevashe. Cooking, Randhena means to cook. Then Lakshmi Devi herself. Why? Because there are 3 family members in the house of our Nimai himself, his mother Sachi Devi, and his wife Lakshmi Devi. So as soon as this news goes to the home, Lakshmi Devi herself will cook, will start cooking. And that too, not with some akrosh, not with some complaints that, oh, we are only 3 and now I have to cook for 20 people. I'm tired. What is all this? Every day Nimai is calling some or the other. No, but Parama Santoshe, with full satisfaction, she will cook. That's her mood. And then the Lord will come. Tabha Prabhu Ashevase. Then Prabhu will come and with all the guests, all the sannyasis, and they both will serve nicely. Sannyasi Ganena Prabhu Apanavashiya Tushtakari Pathayena Bhikshakariya. The Lord personally washed, and as the meal will be served to all the Vaishnavas, the Lord will personally wash all the sannyasis that they have been served the meal very, very nicely, very properly they have been served. Tushtakari, and after satisfying them, Pathena, after that, Bhikshakariya, he would also give them some donation, some charity, something in donation, either astra, either vastra, I'm sorry, not astra, I beg your pardon, either vastra, or with some money, or with some rice, with anna. He will give them donation and he will bid them farewell. So that's how we should also follow in the footsteps. And then Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur write that generally there was a temple of Vishnu in every Brahmana's house. So those were the days when India was very, very rich in its own culture. Even Mahaprabhu, we all know that Mahaprabhu also has a 400 Chatur view form of Narayan, the deity, their family deity that they would worship. And that deity is still in Yogapith in Mayapur, where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur discovered while they were digging and were building the temple in Yogapith, where Mahaprabhu appeared. So, and of course, Mahaprabhu has Dwarka Shila and Mahaprabhu also has Shaligram Shila. So, these are not different from Vishnu's. They are actually Krishna. Even Mahaprabhu says that they are not Pratima Nahi Tumi, Sakshat Vrajendra Nandana. They are not some Pratima. They are Sakshat Vrajendra Nandana. They are Sakshat Krishna. So every home would also have some deities, and especially Vishnu deities. And sannyasis would eat only those stuff that had been cooked for Vishnu. So this is also very, very important principles that yes, sannyasis would cook only food, will eat food that is specifically, exclusively cooked for Vishnu. So even though when we are not in a renounced order of life, we are all in Grahastha life, we should also follow the same principles. Why? Because the sannyasis, they are eating in the house of Grahasthas. And Grahasthas, what are they doing? They are cooking the food, they are offering to the Vishnu, they are offering to Vishnu deity, and then the food is being served to all the guests. right? So we should follow in their footsteps. If we are in Grahastha ashram, then what we all should do, we should also cook only and only for Lord Vishnu, only and only for Krishna. That we all should do. We should cook for Lord Krishna, and then we should give the prasadam to everybody. It's not that you cook for the guests or we cook for sense gratification. Well, that is not okay. We should always cook for Lord Krishna. We should offer him first, and then the prasadam has to be distributed. So generally there was a temple of Vishnu in every Brahmana's house, and the sannyasis also ate only the foodstuffs that has been cooked for Vishnu. So we should also make it a point that we should not eat in restaurants, we should not eat outside, and we should make it a point that we should only cook for Lord Vishnu, offer him, and then honor it. Why? Because jaisa an, vaisa man. If we eat outside in the restaurant, even though people say that, oh, that was a vegan restaurant, and they don't even use onion and garlic, they don't even use milk products, it's a vegan restaurant. You can give n number of excuses, but the moment the grain is involved, the consciousness of a person who is cooking will be there in that grain. So if we just eat without offering it to Lord Krishna, then the consciousness of that person comes in our consciousness. It's get merged in our consciousness. So therefore, as you all must have known, in Hindi there used to say, "Gusse mein kabhi khana nahi banana chahiye." When you are angry, you should not cook food. Why? Because when you are cooking, your anger goes into, and whosoever will honor it will also have developed the same habit. So jaisa an vaisa man. So we should be very, very careful that we should not eat from the hand of those who are non-devotees, or those who are not cooking for Lord Vishnu, those who are cooking for their sense gratification. We should not cook. We should not eat at their home. That should be avoided. And as far as we avoid, that far our spiritual progress will be. If we take it easy, ek din khane se kya hota hai? What happens if we eat just one day? Well, it happens. It may not show the reaction at that very moment, but it stays and it will come. It will be reflected in our sadhana. We can well see that it will be reflected in our sadhana. So we should make it a point that we should only eat something that is being offered to Lord Vishnu, to Lord Shri Krishna, and then we should try to honor it. Otherwise, we should try to avoid. And we can make a number of excuses very politely, saying that, we are not going to honor. And forget about eating outside, that is in restaurants, because they are cooking only for monetary gains. They have no love, no attachment, nothing for you. They are simply cooking for some monetary gains. So definitely we should avoid that food altogether. So since there was a possibility of non-vegetarian items in offerings to the inferior demigods, especially like Goddess Kali, at the house of persons who were lower than the Brahmanas, like Shudras or Vaishyas, it was customary for wandering sannyasis to not eat at the house of any other except a Brahmana. And in order to display these ideal principles of pious householder life, the Lord personally sat near the sannyasis and fed them Krishna Prasad. So that we all should follow, because we all are in a grahastha life. See, Mahaprabhu, when he was not married, he was a pakka brahmachari. As soon as he got married, he was a pakka grahastha, pakka good householder, the crest jewel, the shiromani. He was of householder life. And as soon as he took sannyas, he was the best sannyasi, right? Because he follows all the rules and regulations to its extreme. E mata yate ka atithi ashihaya sabare jignasa karena kripamaya. And in this way, the merciful Lord will inquire about the needs of everyone in his guests, of his guests. So word jignasa karena indicate that the Lord asked his guests whether they needed anything to drink or food. So here also we should try to learn some principle in our life, that when some guests come in and we try to give them Krishna Prasadam, but we should also make sure that we engage them properly. It's only not giving Prasadam, that you give them Prasadam and then you say, okay, now let's watch some movie on Netflix. Well, that's not the case. The thing is that, yes, we should ask for their well-being. It's no harm, but we not to an extent where that topic of well-being goes to some politics or goes to some movies or some Bollywood or some Hollywood. Well, that should be not the mood. When the Vaishnavas come, we should feed them Krishna Prasadam, make them comfortable, but at the same time, try to engage in some Krishna Katha or some Krishna Kirtan. That's how we all should do, not talking about some materialistic talks. That should be avoided. Then text 21 and 22, very, very important verse, a very instruction for all of us, for all the grastas, those who are in grasta ashrams. It's a very important. Grastera Mahaprabhu Shikhaina Dharma Atithira Seva Grastera Mula Karma. See, Saraswati Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing that Grahastera Mahaprabhu, he is teaching to all the Grasta ashrams, those who are in Grasta ashrams, all the Grastas, what he is Shikhaina Dharma. He's teaching that Dharma, that important principle. What is that? Atithira Seva Grastera Mula Karma. That is the Mool Karma, the foremost duty of a householder is Atithi Seva, is to serve his guests. So, and we have already discussed what is Aditi and what is Agatya. Whosoever that person is, whosoever that guest is, whether that person has spontaneously showed up or is well planned, in both the cases, the foremost duty of a householder is to serve his guest to the fullest. And then Mahaprabhu says, Grahastha haya atiti seva nakare pashu pakshi haite adhama balitare. Now he says that if a householder does not serve his guests, then he is considered lower than the birds and beasts. Pashu pakshi haite, he is lower than the birds and beasts. Now someone can say that how come that person becomes lower than birds and beasts? Well, the birds and beasts also doesn't follow this principle of serving the guest whosoever come to their nest. Okay, another baby, the bird friend has come, so let me serve. That's not the norm in their life. They just go, they just feed, try to take grains for their sense gratification, because their consciousness is not developed that they should offer it to Lord Vishnu. They don't follow that. And they do it, and of course, feeding their kids, the baby birds. That's how they follow. But the bird, what will do? Will just fly every day, will look for the grains, will eat that grains, will store that grains, and will bring it and will feed the baby birds. But humans, if they are not serving the Vaishnavas, if they are not serving the guest, they are also earning every day going out, but their motive is to accumulate, right? The example Prabhupada would always give, that if there is a bag of rice on the street, the bird will come, will take rice whatsoever is needed, and will fly back. But a human being comes, will take the entire bag of rice and will go. That entire bag of rice will not be consumed in that one single day. Rather, the human being is thinking for next day. And so that's why he's taking the entire bag of rice and accumulating. So if the grahastas, if those people who are in this grahast order of life, means those who are householders, if they are not serving guests and they are only accumulating for their sense gratification, then they are worse than Pashu Pakshi. At least Pashu Pakshi will take only that which is needed for that one single day, one single time, and then will be satisfied. Next day again they will do. But those householders, if they are not serving guests, they are worse than Pashu Pakshi, they are worse than birds and beasts, because neither they are serving the guest, though they have that developed intelligence, neither they are cooking for Lord Vishnu, rather they are doing sense gratification, and that too they are accumulating. So they are worse than birds and beasts. So therefore he says, Grasta Haya Atiti Seva na kare, those who are not serving the guest, Pashu Pakshi haite adhama balitare, they are worse than Pashu and Pakshi. So how important it is that we should serve the Vaishnavas. In Narottam Das Thakur, very beautiful light, that Vaishnava Thakur is that, the guest, they are what? Even if they are informed, they informed us or they don't inform us, but we should consider that they are Vaishnavas. Even though they are not in Krishna consciousness, still our thinking should be that Krishna is residing in everybody's heart in the form of Paramatma. So we should, as a householder, we should not discriminate that, oh, the other person is Vaishnava or not. But whosoever that person is, we should serve them properly. That is the foremost duty, the Mula Dharma of the guest. And if they are happen to be a Vaishnava, then it is said, like, Sone pe suhaga, like it is much more better if you serve the Vaishnavas. If the Vaishnavas are there, we should try to serve them. Gangara parasha hoile paschate pavana darshana pavitra koro ehi tumhara gun. Very beautifully, Narottam Das Thakur writes that serving the Vaishnavas is much more higher than taking dip in Ganga. Because when we go to Ganga, and we have, first of all, if we have to get purified, yes, through waters of Ganga, we get purified. But to get purified, we have to go to Ganga. We have to take multiple dips. Only then we will be purified. Right? But darshana pavitra hoile tumhara gun. But Vaishnavas are such that even just taking their darshan, not serving them or not going to them, just having a darshan of a pure Vaishnava will purify us. That is the quality of a Vaishnava. Right? So we have to be very, very careful. Further, Narottam Das Thakur writes, Tomasthane aparadhe tare harinam. Like if for Krishna or for some deity, like if some vigraha aparad happens, if some sthan aparad happens, if some other aparads happen towards Lord Hari, then Hari sthane aparade tare harinam. If we commit any offenses, then just by chanting it, all the aparadhas can be mitigated, right? Tomhastane aparade nahi paritran. But if we commit an offense towards a Vaishnava, then there is no rectification at all. Even Harinam cannot help us, right? So the only way is to serve. So we should not commit any offenses, and we should not think in this way also that, oh, I don't have to commit offenses. I don't have to commit offenses against the Vaishnavas. Rather, our thought process is, how can I serve? How can I serve? When our thought process will be on how can we serve, then, the service attitude will come from within. And then we'll all be engaged in the service of the Vaishnavas. So Hari sthane aparade tare harinam. But Toma sthane aparade, Toma means Vaishnava sthane aparade nahi paratan. Why? Because Tomhara hriday sada Govinda Vishram. Because Govind takes his eternal residence in the heart of the Vaishnavas. And not only that, Govinda kohe namura Vaishnava paran. And Govind says that I also stay in the heart of the Vaishnavas, and in my heart also Vaishnavas are there. So, Tomara hriday sada Govinda Vishram, Govinda kohe namura Vaishnava paran. So therefore, Narottam Das Thakur very beautifully says, Prati janme kari asha charana radhuli, that every life, birth after birth, I just pray that I am always engaged in the serving the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas. So how we all should follow in these footsteps, that we should try to serve the Vaishnavas. And as I said, that even if the other guest who is coming is not a Vaishnava, still we should try to serve. We should try to serve them. It's not that we should think that, oh, that person is atheist, he doesn't even believe in Krishna Prasadam. So why should I just feed him, or why should I just serve him? Well, we should not. Who are we to decide? The person who is a hippie, they became happies because of the mercy of, because of the compassionate nature of Srila Prabhupada. So if Srila Prabhupada can convert hippies into happies, and to an extent where now we are going down towards those happy people. Why? Because now they have become spiritual masters in our movement. right? So it's just a matter of time. So today, who is atheist may become Krishna conscious. You never know, right? So if Krishna doesn't discriminate of giving air, water, fire, food, shelter to atheists, then who are we to judge? So whosoever comes to our home, yatha matra, like how much ever we can, we should try to serve them, even if they are not Vaishnavas. But if they are Vaishnavas, then wholeheartedly we should try to serve them. Text 23. Yaravana thake kichu purva drishta doshe se trina jala bhumi dibeka santoshe. Now here, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that if due to his previous impious activities, purvatra droshe, because of some previous karmas, if we are so poor that, we don't have affordability to serve the Vaishnavas, then even then, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, Saitrina, at least we should give them a straw mat to sit, a place to sit, some jala, some water to drink, and bhumi, some place so that they can lie down, the guest can rest. Dibeke santoshe, and try to satisfy them. So see, now no excuse. We cannot make an excuse that, oh, I am not that wealthy that every day I can serve the Vaishnavas, Yes, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that maybe because of some purma jarma karma, maybe because of some dosh, we are not that well-to-do, we belong to that well-to-do family, maybe, but still, trina jala bhumi, this is what we all can give. This is what even Khola Vecha Sridhar can offer to Nimai, when Nimai used to come. Why? Because he was such a poor that his own dhoti, Khola Vecha Sridhar's dhoti, was torn in 20 places, and he would just tie a knot and fix it. His cottage, the roof was always leaking. So that was his condition. But still he had that water pot through which, Mahaprabhu drank water. So, that Trina, Jala and Bhumi, this is the place where even the poorest of the poorest can offer. So the point is that we should not make any excuse of not serving the Vaishnavas. We should always try to serve when they come to our place. Right? So Prabhupada writes some purport, we can read it on our own. Trinadi bhumire udakam. This is actually the verse. I'm just singing in a Bengali meter, but this is in Sanskrit. Trinadi bhumir udakam vakchaturthi cha vashruta etani api satam gehe nochedyanti kadachana. So this is actually from Manusmriti. This is actually from Manusmrita Samhita. It is actually, this Samhita is how a human should lead one's life. Right? It is a manual for all of our human beings, that Manu Samhita. And it is from this that where it mentions that, we should be in the houses of pious people, there may be some scarcity. There may be some scarcity of rice or other items, other staples due to poverty. But a straw mat, a trina, a mat, a water means udaka, right? Some water. And a resting place, a bhumi, that, and of course, some sweet words, Shrunata Vak, that Vak, that our, at least we can offer that sweet words. And these are the 4 items that a grahastha should offer to the guests. So what are the first? The trina means some straw mat, bhumi, some place so that they can rest. Then comes Uddaka, that is some water, and finally Shruntavak, that is some sweet words so that they can be pleased for the satisfaction of the Vaishnavas. So Manu Samhita also describes that at least these 4 things should be offered. And Prabhupada also writes in one of the purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is the glories of Bhishma Deva is described, the passing away of Bhishma Deva. I think so. It's in the 9th chapter of the 1st canto, where Prabhupada describes that, yes, these 3 things should be offered: a place to sit, water to drink, and sweet words. So very, very important that a grahastha, a householder, should offer to each and everyone whosoever comes to their home. Even if we are not in a position of our health is not good, but still that sweet words should always be offered. Now here Prabhupada makes up this point that Bhishma Dev, he also instructed the same thing. But when so many sages, along with Krishna and Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas, when they came to meet Bhishma Dev, at that time, Bhishma Dev, first of all, he was not at his home. He was lying on the bed of arrows. And secondly, he was not in a position where he can get up and greet everybody because he was on the bed of arrows. But still following the rules, he offered them sweet words. So even to an extent where we cannot offer at least water or a place to sit, we can always offer some sweet words. Sometimes guests come to our place, or some relatives or some friends, devotee friends, they come and they just come to drop something. They just drop and they just leave from the door itself, that they are busy or they have to catch up with some other things or they have to go somewhere. But still the proper norm is that even if they have not entered the home, when they are not entering the home, you cannot offer them food, or cannot offer them water or a place to sit. But what we can do is offer them some sweet words. And, the norm is at least to go out and bid them farewell. Just don't smash the door on their face. Okay, well, they were busy. What can I do? No, even if person has come, walk few steps and bid them nice farewell with your sweet words. That's how we all should do. In India, there is a norm that, people just bid farewell, they walk few steps. It's a matter of culture. It's a matter of culture. So we should always try to walk few steps along with them, go outside and then nicely bid farewell to them, and then you can leave. So this is how we all should do. That's how Mahaprabhu is teaching, and we should try to follow. Satya vakya kahibe ka kari parihara tathapi atithya shunana yatahara ekat vichita sukhe yara yena shakti taha karile bali atithira bhakti ataiva atitere apana ishware jignasa karena ati parama adare. See how beautiful, in reflecting to the same of Manu Samhita, what he's saying, that if one has nothing more to offer, he should apologize without duplicity. So if we are really in a condition like Bhishma Dev, that we cannot offer in anything, then sweet words can always help. And we should apologize without any duplicity. Then he is not guilty of neglecting his guest. Then there is no aparadh. Then that person is free from all guilt of neglecting his guest. If a householder happily serves his guest without duplicity and according to its own ability, he is considered hospitable. And our Mahaprabhu was very hospitable. Therefore, the Lord personally invited his guest with great respect and serve him personally. Now, the Lord will invite and the guest will also come. Why the guest will also come? Because so many sannyasis will come on their own. Why? Because Mahaprabhu's khyati, Mahaprabhu's glories was spread far and wide, that such a wonderful householder he is, along with his wife Lakshmi Priya and his mother Sachi Devi. So say sabasthiti parama bhagyavana Lakshmi Narayan yare khare annadana. Definitely all those who were coming by hearing the glories of Mahaprabhu, they were very bhagyavan. They were very, very fortunate. Why? Because Swayam Lakshmi Bhagavan, Lakshmi Narayan themselves are serving them and giving them directly the foodstuffs to eat and honor. Right? So they were most fortunate. Why? Because they are receiving the foodstuffs directly from Lakshmi Devi and Narayan. Mahaprabhu is Sakshat Krishna and our Lakshmi Priya is Lakshmi Devi, right? So Sakshat Lakshmi Narayan are serving them. So definitely their fortune is much, much, much more higher. Their fortune is much, much more higher than all those normally those who go to some normal mundane householders. Why? Because now they are directly being served by Lakshmi Narayan. Yanra Brahmadira Asha Anukshane Hena se Adbhutata Khaya Eta Jane. We all know that the foodstuffs are so wonderful that they are even desired by even the demigods headed by Brahma, and now they all were eaten by one and all. So we all know the potency of this prasad, right? We all know that story, that how even Narad Muni served Lakshmi Devi so many times just to get to some remnants of Narayan from his plate, right? And then he went to Lord Shiva, and then how Lord Shiva ate, but then Mother Parvati got so offended that you didn't share that Krishna Prasadam with me. And finally we know that how she came as Vimala Devi in Jagannath. We know that story, that pastime. So the point is that even the demigods, they aspire to have the remnants. And now here, so fortunate were those people, those sannyasis, those devotees who were coming to the house of Nimai Pandit, and they were so well treated and honored by Lakshmi Narayan themselves. Keha keha ito madhe kahe anna katha sei annera yogya annena haya sarvatha. In reply to this, someone said, it is not possible for ordinary people to receive such foodstuffs directly from the house of Lakshmi Narayan. After all, they are Lakshmi Narayan. So definitely it's not easy or fortunate for everybody to go and just honor some prasadam from their house. So they were not ordinary people. And as people were discussing, Vrindavan Das Thakur is mentioning in the next verse that yes, they were not ordinary people who were coming as sannyasis in the house of Nimai Pandit. Who were they? Brahma Shiva Shukha Vyasa Naradadikari Sura Siddha Adiyata Swachanda Vihari Lakshmi Narayana Vathirna Navadvipe Jani Sabha Aishena Bhikshura Rupe. So beautiful, Vrindavan Das Thakur's poetry is that he's saying that yes, they were not ordinary people. Who were there? They were Brahma. They were Shiva, Lord Shiva himself, Shukdev Goswami, and then Vyasadev himself. Vrindavan Das Thakur is Vyasa, right? After all, he also has to go to experience so that he can write this Chaitanya Bhagavata. So they were not ordinary people. They were Brahma, they were Shiva, they were Shukadev Goswami, they were Vyasadev himself, and of course Narad Muni, Sura Siddhi Adi, and they were all demigods who are Siddha, right? And Swachanda Vihari, with their own desire, they would just roam around in the entire Navadvip so that they can just go and enter into the house of Navadvip and, in the house of Nimai Pandit and, personally being served by Lakshmi Narayan. Why? Because Lakshmi Narayan Avatirna Navadvipe. Everybody knows that Lakshmi Narayan in the form of Lakshmi Priya Nimai Pandit has come in Navadvip. Jani Shaba Aishena Bhikshura Rupe. And therefore, when they know that Lakshmi Narayan is there in that house, so they will take the form of those bhikshu, those beggars, and all these demigods would come and will honor prasadam at the house of Nimai Pandit. Brahma, Shiva, Sukadev, Vyasadev, Narada, as well as the demigods and siddhas who travel according to their desire. Swachandra Vihari. They don't have any restriction. They just travel at their own desire. All knew that Lakshmi Narayan has appeared in Navadvip, and they therefore all visited the Lord's house to beg alms in the form of mendicants. Anyatha se sthane yai bara shakti kara Brahma adi vina ke annapaya ara. Otherwise, Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, who else has the power to visit his house? And who other than personalities like Brahma can receive such foodstuffs? So definitely they were not ordinary people. They were extremely fortunate, Bhagyavan. These demigods were that they just roam around and they somehow come to the house of Nimai Pandit and beg as sannyasis, as mendicants. They will come and they will ask for some food. Keha bala dukhi tatarita avatara sarva mate dukhi tera karana nistara Someone else said the Lord has actually incarnated to deliver the distressed, and he therefore employs various means for their deliverance. Yes, patita pavan hoive tava avatara. Tuma sopati, tumha, like what Narottam Das Thakur says, that if you don't deliver me, then your name of being patita pavan is vyartha, is waste. Why? Because there is no one except me in this entire world who is patita pavan. So if you want to do your name sarthak, if you want to prove, then you have to liberate me. So here also Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that some people in Navadvip, they say that actually Lord has incarnated to deliver the distress, and therefore he employs every means by calling them at their home, serving them just for their deliverance. Last 3 verses. Brahma adi deva yara anga prati anga sarvatata hara ishvara nitya sanga tathapi pratigyataha ei avitare brahmanadi durlabhadi musakal jivere ata eva dukha tere ishvara apane nij graha anna dena udhara karane. So the demigods headed by Brahma are born from the limbs of the Supreme Lord. Through Srimad Bhagavatam, we all know that how these demigods are the different limbs of the same Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. And they are Nitya Siddhas. They are always associated with the Lord. Right? They are their Parshads, they are Hari Parshads. And still in this incarnation, he has promised to give them, to give that which is rarely attained by even Brahma. And what is that? Krishna Prem. Therefore, the Lord personally fed the distressed in his house in order to deliver them. Because yes, externally, they were getting some foodstuffs, they were getting some clothes, Lord was personally feeding them. But along with that, what he was giving? Krishna Prem. He was just giving Krishna Prem. Everybody who was honoring in the house of Nimai Pandit was actually the recipient of Krishna Prem. He was getting Krishna Prem, whosoever was honoring the foodstuffs in the house of Nimai Pandit. So how Mahaprabhu, what he is doing? Nija Grihe. In his own house, he is calling everybody, giving them Annadan, and along with Annadan, he would Uddhara Karina. He would just liberate them by giving them Krishna Prem. So how magnanimous, how beautiful, how compassionate, how merciful is our Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll stop here. Thank you all so much. And we'll continue from text 38 on Tuesday, tomorrow. Yeah. So thank you all so much for joining us. Really appreciate, grateful to each and every one of you. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very, very nice section and so beautifully explained. I was just thinking as you were explaining these verses, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his merciful nature has been there always, whether he was a child or whether he was in this phase of life before taking sannyas. He was constantly in various ways trying to deliver everybody. So he was delivering people by offering them prasadam and serving them with his own hands and with the entire house coming together and serving. So he just finds so many different ways to deliver people, irrespective of whichever position he's in, whether he's a child or whether he's a grihastha. He's a sannyasi. We think, okay, only after he takes sannyas, he actually starts the preaching movement. It's just true in one sense. But he has already started thinking of the welfare of everyone, Like,
very true.
Just like Srila Prabhupada, it didn't matter to him what was there and what was not there. His only focus in all times was actually to deliver everybody. So beautiful. And Prabhupada taught us everything, like right from cooking to playing instruments to
everything. Even to go down in front of spiritual master was taught personally by Srila Prabhupada.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Everything, yeah. Thank you so much, Preeti.
Class and
sharing that point. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just telling anyone who has questions can raise your hand and you can ask questions to Mataji. She'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. Your class is very wonderful.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your association.
Mataji, I have one query. When I started chanting, my mind has been disturbed. How can I control my sense and mind? Please tell me any solution.
You're asking a wrong person, Prabhu. But whatever I heard and whatever I follow is that, yes, that's the nature of mind. The nature of mind will be that mind will run away. And so
when I start chanting, I will sit through Tulasi Maharani and I will start chanting on early morning 4:30 to 6:30. After Satoguna finish, after that Satoguna Rajoguna will started. I cannot start chanting itself even one round. What I can do, Mataji? Because I will studying.
yeah.
Because I will study in colleges, I have more work to do, so I cannot do the chanting in that one hour. I have to spend more time to studies and I have to chant 16 rounds also. I can how can I expand the time? Please tell me.
Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. So first of all, I'm really honored to hear that you are chanting early in the morning in Brahma Muhurta from 4:30 to 6:30, which is actually the ideal time to chant. And as you yourself said, that it is in the mode of sattva. It's a sattva guna, it's a mode of goodness. And that's the ideal use of that Brahma Muhurta time, that we should engage that time in our spiritual activities. And you are already doing it. And that too, you are doing it in front of Tulsi Maharani, who is Bhakti Devi, who is Krishna Bhakti Pradayini, right? So we are doing it in the front of Tulsi Maharani. So what you yourself, you are doing wonderful. So it's just a matter of time, that you will be satisfied. Of course, that's actually a good point of not being satisfied with one's own chanting. That itself shows our spiritual progress. But yes, some satisfaction will definitely be there. And, I think so you are doing best. And after that, even if you want to chant and you have to catch up with the work, it's okay, because now the demand of the time is that you have to work. You cannot just sit idle and chant 24/7, because we are in a particular ashram and we have to follow the rules of that ashram. So even if we have to do our household chores or we have to do our 9 to 5 job, it's okay, because morning time, what we have chanted is just like a soldier wearing an armor. Right? When the soldier wears an armor and then goes in forefront to a battle, he is likely to be more secure. It's not that 100% his life will be saved, but more secured, more protected, because now he has worn an armor. Right? Similarly, when we have chanted early in the morning, it's just like wearing that armor, because now we have to face the material world in other later part of the day. And we'll be interacting with so many materialistic people. So definitely that chanting will help us, will protect us, so that our consciousness don't get disturbed. And as you said that the Rajas period starts and in the evening, the Tama period starts, it's okay, that in little amount of tamas is also needed when we want to sleep, right? We need to take some rest. We need to rejuvenate our body. So these modes are important, but at the same time, we have to keep chanting. And even if you feel that you are not able to chant, then what our seniors always tell us, that try to make out some time, like those wives who are doing their household chores. During the household chores, they can make a point to hear the lecture or to play Prabhupada's chanting, so that, it stimulates us also, so that our tongue also gets vibrate during that time, so that we can also chant. As Vrindavan Das Thakur in future verses will say that Khaite Shuite Yatha Tatha Namle, that we have to constantly chant Krishna's name, whether we are eating or whether we are sleeping. Khaite Shuite Yatha Tatha Namle, Desh Kal Niyam Nahi Sarva Siddhi Hoy. There is no Desh Kal Niyam, no time, place and circumstances, rules apply to this chanting. So as you said that, when you are doing your office work, that time you cannot chant, it's true that, whether you will chant or you'll do your office work, you cannot do two things simultaneously. So we should, that time, the demand of the time is that we should do our office work. After all, that also comes under rules and regulations in which ashram we are in, right? So we should try to do that office work. But during doing that office work, deliberately after half an hour or an hour, we can take some 5 minutes break and try to focus some words in Bhagavatam, remember some prayers written by our acharyas, some bhajan we can meditate on, just 5 minutes, and then go back, shut ourselves, and again go back to our work. And this way, during work also, we will be able to remain Krishna conscious. And those who are at home, they can definitely either try to play Prabhupada chanting or keep some lecture on. And that way, their consciousness will always be Krishna consciousness. This is one of the example. I would just like 2 more minutes that, once my Prabhu only, he asked this question to my Gurudev that how can during work I can focus on Krishna? And Gurudev was very upset and he said, what are you talking about? You are doing a development, or you are doing manager, you are developer or coder, or you are doing manager. At that time, you cannot focus on Krishna. Was Arjuna, while fighting the battle, was he chanting? No, his full attention was on his arrow and on the object on which he has to shoot that arrow, on the person. Right? If he will deviate, will he be a good archer? No, he won't. Right? So he has to fight. But his consciousness was such that I'm fighting it for Krishna. So similarly, when we are doing our job, we should do it with full attention, with 100% attention. We should do it. But conscious, our back in the mind, our consciousness should be that I'm doing it for Krishna. So delegate everything to Krishna, but put your endeavor 100%. So that's what Gurudev said, that when you are at work, focus on your work. Don't think of chanting. And morning time, when you are chanting, don't think of your work. Don't even check. He instructed my Prabhu that don't even open your laptop to check your emails. Just focus on chanting. Everything will be taken care of. And when you are in job, focus on your job. In between, hour after hour or so, you can take a 5-minute break. Focus on some verses, chant some rounds, one round, or maybe just focus on some beautiful prayers by our acharyas and be Krishna conscious. So you got the point, Prabhu. I hope I was able to help
yes,
you.
Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So we don't have to be so fanatical that, either just renounce everything and be Babaji and be Bhajananandi if you are really so much interested in chanting, and 24/7 you can hold your beads and do. But if you are in this material world, if you are in a particular ashram, then follow that ashram. Don't be so fanatic that 24/7 I will chant. That's not going to work, right?
Thank you so much for your good idea. Thank you. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kirtida Sundari Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful answer. And quoting Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj's words, it's so strange that today morning I got a similar message quoting Radhanath Swami Maharaj as well. So if you permit me, I will.
Please go ahead.
It's addressing the same question. So to His Holiness Radhanath Swami, since we have a lot of time to chant Hare Krishna, to read Bhagavad Gita, and to visit temple on festivals, we see that we are not doing justice to our studies or to our profession. So how to resolve this conflict? His Holiness Radhanath Swami answers, the function of the intelligence is to discern as to what is the best way to balance our life in a way that we are doing the optimum service to the Supreme Lord. Arjuna was a warrior, same thing as you said. Arjuna was a warrior, and when the battle of Kurukshetra began, he just did not sit on the sidelines chanting Hare Krishna. He listened from Krishna attentively and then performed his duties. If a student is chanting the holy names and striving to be a devotee, but is doing very bad in studies, will such performance glorify Krishna? People will conclude that anybody who chants the name of God becomes a useless fool. No student will be inspired to chant the holy name and will want to live a life of dharma if they see that those who are doing so are lazy in their studies and failing. A student can glorify God best by chanting the holy names, living purely, and by executing his duties as a student, to the best of his capacity. If students live exemplary spiritual lives and rank number 1 in their academics, they can inspire other students to do the same. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is filled with examples of high-ranking students and professionals excelling in their respective fields, thus inspiring others around them to take shelter of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. See, I think so now your answer is, the question that you posed, Prabhu, is now crystal clear, that how Hare Krishnas do everything best. So dharma, understand the dharma in the ashram you are in. If you are a student, our dharma is to study. At the same time chanting, but we have to be first class. Do everything best. Thank you so much, Preeti Vilasini Mataji, for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. So we don't have to be fanatic. Don't be fanatic. Be a good devotee. That's what my Guru Maharaj would always say.
Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Krishna. Yes, Devgan Mataji, do you have anything to say?
Yes, Mataji. I have a question, not related to this class, but I was listening the Radha Rani Mahima yesterday, and I'm just get confused. Radha Rani Sakhi and Manjari are different.
I couldn't get Mataji. Your voice is not that clear. What you said in the last part? Can anyone who has heard the question explain me?
Something like Radha Rani.
Yeah, go ahead, Devgan Mataji. You want to give a try once again?
The question is that I was listening the Radha Rani Mahima yesterday, and I was just confused. The Radha Rani Sakhis like Vishakha Sakhi and Lalita Sakhi are different than the Manjaris.
Oh, yes. Yes, Mataji, they are different from the Manjaris. So Radharani has, there are gopis. Gopis, there may be elderly gopis like Mother Yashoda, Mother Rohini. They are also regarded as gopis. Then there are sakhis. Sakhis are of the same age of that of Radharani. As you said, Lalita Sakhi, Vishakha Sakhi, Tungavidya Sakhi, Indulekha Sakhi. They are all the sakhis. They are of the same age of Srimati Radharani. But then there are Manjaris who are at younger age than Srimati Radharani, like Rupa Manjari, Lavanya Manjari, Rasa Manjari, Rati Manjari. So these are the Manjaris. Now, the job of Sakhis are to assist Srimati Radharani in all her services. But when Srimati Radharani is very intimate with Krishna, at that time, if the Sakhis intervene, Srimati Radharani will feel little shy because they are of the same age. So at that time, the Manjaris, they come, they play their role. It's been explained by Rupa Goswami that, sometimes the hair of Srimati Radharani gets entangled with Krishna's veil. At that time, if the Sakhis will come and intervene and will try to segregate it, Radharani will feel little shy. So at that time, these Manjaris come. And these Manjaris, the head of the Manjaris is the Rupa Goswami, who is under Lalita Sakhi. These Manjaris are working under the direction of Sakhis only. But at that time, the Manjaris will come and will try to segregate the hair of Srimati Radharani with Krishna's veil. So yes, there are different levels to understand. Hope that helps, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else has anything to say? Okay, so
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. Very nice and beautiful class, so many learning lessons. And Mataji, I have one question. If somebody invites someone and they are not Krishna consciousness, the people who invite, so should the other devotee go to their house for prasadam, take prasadam or something?
Yeah. So answer is no, Mataji. If somebody is not in Krishna conscious, we should not go to their house to honor prasadam, right? We can go, we can chant, we can do some kirtan, we can do Krishna katha, but when it comes to prasadam, we can always give a lot of excuses, not bluntly saying on their face that we don't eat because you are not in Krishna conscious, or you eat non-veg, or you eat onion garlic, or you don't offer, not bluntly saying on their face, but giving your own excuse that I have some acidity problem, or today is my vrat, today I've taken a vow, or my stomach is aching, such kind of lies are okay. I know it's a lie, we are just telling lie, but those lies are okay to prevent the lies that we say to prevent our own bhajan. That lies are okay. That's what even Sanatan Goswami did. He lied to the Nawab Hussain Shah that he's not well and he doesn't want to come and take care of his services. And while he was just simply sitting at his home and doing some Krishna Katha. So our Acharya shows us with our own example that when we speak lie to protect our own bhajan, it is okay. It is perfectly okay. So when we go to such houses, when we go to such people's place, we can do some Krishna Katha, we can do Kirtan, that is perfectly fine. But when it comes to take prasadam, we can make excuses. We can make very, very simple excuses so that they don't force us to honor prasadam. And if something really comes on, that they're after that and you have to take something, then better to take something which is not cooked, because that cooking, through that fire only, that consciousness gets traveled. So either take some salad or some glass of water or some sugar and lemon water, or something which doesn't include fire in it, some salad, some fruits, some dry fruits. Just try to honor them, honor that. If they are really after you, that you have to take something, then in this way you can excuse yourself. Hope that's okay.
Sure, Mataji, help me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But be careful. We have to be really very careful not to take anything which is not offered, not to honor anything. All of us, we can take a vow that from here onwards, I will not keep anything in my mouth which is not offered, because it really has consequences. It really has consequences.
Even though Mataji, they just worship Krishna, but they believe in some other demigod like a Shankar Bhagwan or
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Don't. It's an offense to consider the names of demigods like Lord Brahma,
right.
Shiva to be equal to or independent to the norm of Lord. Right. If they are worshipping Krishna, if they have that Bal Gopal Seva or Gaur Seva, and if they are offering it to Krishna, then you can honor it. There is no harm in it.
Yeah.
And provided, make sure that their utensils are clean, because I've seen those people who are having Gopal worship but are eating non-veg or are eating onion and garlic. It's better even to avoid at that time. If even they are not Krishna conscious, because I've seen some people from Pushti Marg Sampradaya, though they are not Krishna conscious, but they are very pious. They don't eat non-veg, they don't eat onion garlic, but they are not Krishna conscious. That's okay. But at least in their home, they are Jains and they are pious people, and at least they are offering the food. Then no harm, then we can honor it.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, if no questions, then you can take over.
Thank you all so much for joining us and giving us your very valuable association. We look forward to having all of your association again tomorrow with another beautiful speaker and a beautiful class. Please, we'll call here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Jai.
Yes.
God grace, Kirtida Sundari Mataji ki
Jai.
The assembled Vaishnavas ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Jai.
Jai.
Krishna.